Right. So today we're doing a deep dive into First Peter, and
Whoa,
yeah, it's a powerful book.
it
It's
is.
a letter
Yeah.
really written to early Christians who were kind of scattered all over the place.
Yeah.
Um,
And
and
they were facing some tough times, weren't they? Persecution, just trying to hold on to their beliefs. It wasn't easy being a Christian back then.
no, not at
Yeah.
all, not at all.
Yeah.
And that's what makes this book so powerful. And that's why we're diving in. Um, the source material that we're using is
It's like a summary.
yeah, it's like somebody tried to take
Yeah.
all the key points of First Peter, which
Which is hard.
yeah, it's a pretty dense book, to be honest. So
Mm.
the fact that we're going to try to do this in
Yeah.
under 10 minutes is
I know,
a little
right?
bit crazy, but
It's a challenge.
we'll see what we can do.
All right, let's do it.
So, First Peter, like I was saying, is a letter to these early Christians living all across the Roman Empire. And things weren't easy for them. Like you were saying, they were facing persecution. Just being a Christian could cost you your job, your freedom, even your life. I mean, talk about
You can practically feel that urgency, like in Peter's words. It's
yeah.
almost like you're right there with them, facing those intense situations.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely makes you think, like, how did they manage to hold on to hope? I mean, when everything around you is telling you to give up,
Right.
how do you keep going?
Well, that's where that word exiles comes in, you
Yeah.
know? It's what Peter calls these early Christians exiles. And it's this idea that their true home, it wasn't here.
Right.
It was somewhere else. They were just passing through, citizens of heaven, but not just passively waiting around, you know? They were called to live and live with purpose.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the word exile, I guess it's kind of a double-edged sword in a way,
I
right?
guess so, yeah.
Like, on the one hand, it's comforting. It reminds you this world isn't all there is. But on the other hand, it means, okay, if this isn't really my home, I need to live differently.
That's it. And do you think, I mean, do you see that resonating today, I mean, with people of faith? That sense of being a little bit out of place?
Oh, absolutely. I think a lot of people, especially people of faith, today, they feel that tension. It's like you're in the world, but not quite of it, you know?
Mhm.
Maybe it's the pressure to compromise, to fit in, or maybe it's feeling like your values just don't line up with what everyone else is doing.
Yeah.
So how does Peter, I mean, how does he help these early Christians, these exiles, navigate that?
Well, he gives them and really all of us this amazing thing, you know, this idea of a living hope.
Hmm.
It's rooted in the resurrection of Jesus, so it's not just, oh, I hope things get better.
Right.
This is a powerful force. It pushes you forward. It gives you the strength to persevere. And that's how those early Christians, I mean, that's how they faced all that stuff. And it's the same hope that, you know, helps us get through tough times today.
You know, I always think about the word sojourner too,
Yeah.
which has those Old Testament connections. You think about the Israelites, you know, wandering in the desert for 40 years. They're totally reliant on God. It's kind of a similar vibe, right?
Right.
But this hope, how did it actually play out in their lives? Like, what did it look like practically?
Oh, Peter's not shy about getting specific,
Yeah.
you know? He's very clear. He calls them, and I think he's calling us, you know, to live holy lives, to actually do good works.
Mm-hmm.
And this isn't about like racking up points with God or anything like that. It's about showing, you know, who you are on the inside. It's about living out that transformation.
So what does that actually look like? I mean, what are some of the things Peter says about good works?
Well, he talks about honoring the government, you know, even when it's hard, respecting your employers, living peacefully with your neighbors. I mean, he even says, love your enemies.
Yeah.
Now, that's pretty radical, right?
Yeah.
Especially in that context. You know, they're being persecuted and they're being told to submit to the very authorities who are causing them pain.
It's tough.
But to do it with grace, that's a whole other level.
It really highlights that whole tension between like fitting in and standing out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And speaking of standing out, I mean, Peter also gets into some pretty challenging stuff, like submission to authority
Right.
and humility in relationships. I mean, those are concepts that, you know, even today, people struggle with.
Oh, totally. And it's easy to misunderstand, right?
Yeah.
I mean, especially today. But back then, you know, for those early Christians, submission wasn't about blindly following rules, especially unjust ones. It was about living honorably, even when you're under pressure. And humility, it wasn't weakness, it was strength, you know? It was putting others first, even when it's hard.
It's like choosing the harder path, the path of like wisdom and grace instead of just
Exactly. It's about living with integrity and love,
Mm,
even when things are tough. And I think, you know, the key takeaway is that for Peter, it always comes back to God. Your true allegiance is to him. So stand firm in your faith, resist the devil, and trust in God's plan. even when it feels like everything's falling apart.
Yeah, it always comes back to that living hope. It's like that anchor that holds you steady even when the storms are raging all around you.
Absolutely.
So we've covered a lot of ground today, but I think the biggest question is, how do we apply this to our lives? If we consider ourselves exiles in today's world, how do we live out our faith authentically, but also engage positively with those around us?
Yeah.
Something to think about. Thanks for joining this deep dive into First Peter. Until next time, keep exploring.
See you later.
Bye.